What is going on, everyone? Back again with a review. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals, once again, have had some pretty good seasons, to say the least. Let's take a look at their last 5 seasons. Obviously, they haven't made the playoffs in 2 years. They were pretty consistent in the playoffs, I will say that. They were pretty consistent for a decent amount of time. But over the last 2 seasons, they seem to fall off a little bit. Obviously, 23 winning 71 games and 24 coming back and winning 83 games. Definitely a lot better, and definitely seeing some of those 2016, 2017, 2018 kind of things here, which is very good for this team, which were those are the years they missed the playoffs. In the next 4 seasons they made the playoffs, so seeing something similar here, and we might see this continue moving forward. But let's go over their top prospects. So the 2025 whole top 100 has been officially released, which is very nice, but unfortunately if you go to the 2025 prospect rankings per team, they're still not really out, which is very frustrating. But we're gonna look at some of their players in the top 100. Now, coming in at number 23 on the top 100 is JJ Weathercolt. Obviously he was their first round draft pick in 2024, and he spent those 29 games at the A-ball level, and he batted a 295, which is pretty good. He's ETA 2026 right now, but I figured I'd mention him just because he's playing really well, and he probably could get called up even sooner if he just keeps playing well. It's definitely possible. Starts a good spring training. They put him in AA, AAA. I mean, he can get up there before the end of the season if he keeps playing like this. So just a quick honorable mention before we start moving forward. Now let's go over to number 45 on the top 100 is Quinn Matthews. He was drafted in 2023, so played his first seasons in the minors in 2024, and he's been at almost every level. I mean, he's really been at every level. Started in A-ball, then high, AA, AAA. AAA was obviously his worst performance, but he only pitched 16 innings in there. So 2.76 ERA in 143 innings, which is a lot of innings, to be honest, especially because he's bouncing around from all these teams and the travel, right? So definitely pretty solid, I want to say, for him. I mean, we'll see if they keep him at the AAA level, but if he stays there for at least a year, right, and he gets to develop, I think he could be a really solid player. It's just he probably had, what, 4 bad starts, 3 bad starts or something like that, and that kind of just destroyed his ERA. So he's ETA 2025. We'll see what happens with him. Once again, we'll see if he gets the invite to spring training, right? That'd be pretty impressive for him as well, and we'll see how he does in his 2025 campaign. So coming in at number 77 on the top 100 is Tink Hence. He obviously played in AA in 2024 at a 2.71 ERA, which is pretty good in 79.2 innings. So obviously extremely impressive right there. And once again, he's played in other levels in the minors, right? Obviously last year he was in AA. He's got way more sample size this time and still putting up pretty good numbers. So once again, we'll see if he gets the call up to AAA in 2025. I think that's where he could probably thrive, especially if he's pitching that good throughout a season. And that is about everyone on the top 100. So it's these 3 guys at the top that are supposed to be some of their best players. Obviously they took the ETA away from the 2024 one, and the 2025 one still won't work. So these are some of their other players. Let me know, any Cardinals fans, in the comment section, which guys are supposed to be called up in 2025, because right now I really have no idea if they're not on the top 100, which is unfortunate. The website does this, but this happens every offseason. So let's move on to the Cardinals contracts now. They still got a lot of guys they're paying a decent amount of money to. Nolan Arenado is still making $32 million this year, supposed to go down over that time. Signed that crazy contract back in 2019. Wilson Contreras is still here. I think this was kind of a failed contract too, to be honest. I didn't really like this one, especially for the Cardinals. $18 million they gotta pay him. Sonny Gray still has a pretty good contract, I will say that, for what he's doing. He's got that team option out for 27 as well. I wonder if they extend that. I feel like they would. But that's a $30 million option as well for a pitcher, so we'll see if they do that. And we have a lot of free agents on this team, with Michael Michaelis, probably his last season. I mean, he's 36, so we'll see if another team would sign him after the 25 season. Steven Matz and Eric Freddie are some of the guys that are free agents, and then Ryan Helsley as well, which is another big piece. He's been a really good closer for them. So those are the 4 guys that are having free agent talks after the 2025 season, and then everyone else is pretty much in arbitration. There's a couple guys we got estimates for, but not a whole lot. And then moving on down, they have a lot of buyouts they gotta pay. They're still paying $5 million for the Nolan Arenado trade to the Rockies. They still gotta pay the buyout for Lance Lynn, and they got a ton of other guys which are on buyouts as well. So that is definitely something to think about when you look at this team. But this team has $112 million committed to the squad. After arbitration, this is supposed to get up to $140.6 million, which is definitely a lot of money, but the Cardinals do like to spend. That is one thing I like about them, is they do spend money and they do try to win. Let's take a look at this team's roster, because once again, it's a pretty interesting roster, to say the least. Let's start with this rotation. Obviously, Sonny Gray is going to be their best pitcher, I would imagine, right? He's been really dominant. Eric Freddie's here. Obviously, they traded him over to the White Sox in that 3-team trade, I'm pretty sure. Miles Michaelis is here once again for his last season. Same with Steven Matz is here for his last season. And they got 3 other guys in that bullpen as well, so they'll try to figure that out when they move forward. Moving on over to the bullpen as well. I mean, Ryan Heasley's obviously the best closer, right, on this team, so excited to have him. Might be his last year here. We'll wait and see what happens with him in that offseason. They got a ton of other players as well they can use. They also have Steven Matz down here as a bullpen guy, so very interesting to see what they're going to do with him. So moving on over to the starting 9. Now, Wilson Contreras should start the catching spot. I know there's been a whole controversy if he's starting. I still think think he should start at catcher. And then at first base, Alex Berkson would probably start, if I had to guess. Moving on over to second base, Brendan Devon would definitely start. Third base, obviously Nolan Arenado would start, and then at shortstop, Mason Wynn would start. And then moving on over to this outfield, you would have to imagine Lars Newbar starts in left field, right? I mean, that kid's good. Or center. He's played a lot of center as well. Definitely he's going to start for this team. They could start Victor Scott or Michael Santillan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, in center field. There's a lot. They could start all three of those guys in center, to be honest. And then Jordan Walker would obviously start right field. That's where he's been his whole career. And then the DH, they could pretty much use whoever, right? I feel like this team has a lot of options. They can use a lot of players in that DH position. Definitely a decent squad, but not my favorite looking at the whole league as a whole. So moving on over to attendance, obviously the Cardinals have a great attendance, right? They brought in 2.8 million fans into the stadium at 35,000 average. So that's incredible. I mean, they always draw. This team's historic, right? They always tend to do pretty good. And they are ranked 7th in attendance out of the 30 teams in the league. So obviously doing very well for themselves. This franchise will always draw in fans. I mean, it just is what it is. So yeah, definitely solid on the attendance side for the Cardinals. Now moving over to the 2025 MLB draft, the Cardinals moved up 10 spots in the lottery at a 0.84%. So very impressive. They're going to be picking at number 5 in the first round. They're definitely going to get a decent pick. That's one thing about this team, is they're going to have a solid pick in this draft. Now moving on down, no prospect promotion, no compensation picks, no competitive balance A picks for the Cardinals. In the second round, they're going to be picking at 56, so significantly back in that second round. Going on down in competitive balance B, they do have a pick right here, number 74, so that is the extra pick they have in this draft. So no compensation picks here in the third round. They're going to be picking at number 90. And then moving down, no compensation picks again in the fourth round. They're going to be picking at 121. And then moving on down, once again, no compensation picks in the fifth round. They're going to be picking at 151. And then in the remaining rounds, they will be picking at number 15 from rounds 5 to 20. So they got 21 picks in this draft. Should be a pretty decent draft for them. Obviously, with that competitive balance B pick, they will be pretty solid. And they got to move up a lot in the first round. So definitely should have a good draft from the Cardinals. Now, my overall thoughts on this team, I personally think this team is going to play spoiler. I think the Cubs are heavy favorites to win this division right now, which is all the money they spent and all the talent they're acquiring. I also think the Brewers are still a decent team. I think they're going to be above 500. I think they probably have a shot at the division. I think the Cardinals also have a shot at the division. I don't know. I feel like the three teams are all just going to be competitive this year. I'm just not really sure if there's one team that's going to come out on top. I know the Cubs are heavy favorites, and I can definitely see that, but I'm not really sure, if the Cardinals are even going to get a wild card spot or a division. I'm not really sure. I feel like they're just going to be in the mix for the Central. Most of the time, the Central is the worst division, right? I mean, when you look at the West and the East, right? I mean, it's definitely the worst division. So I could really only see like one team getting to the postseason, which would be the division winner, unless the second team is just really competitive, which I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, you need 89 wins plus tiebreakers to get in the NL wildcard last year, and then in 23 you needed like 84. So it's kind of up in the air. You need to be in that winning percentage. The Cardinals last year, once again, were only like 6 games out because he needed 89 wins. So they were still in the mix with this team, and I do think that they could be a solid squad. I just don't really know how they're going to perform with some of the rookies that they're going to bring in. They haven't really done anything in the offseason, really. So I feel like there's like no change. I think they're one of the teams that spent $0 in this offseason. So unless they're banking on the rookie talent, I feel like they're going to have a similar season, which is they're going to be competitive with the teams, right? But they're not going to do anything. So that's my thoughts on the Cardinals. What do you guys think about them in the comment section down below? Where do you kind of have this team moving forward? I don't think they're going to make any crazy splashes. I feel like they're going to have a similar season to last year, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.